Igris is a Marshal-grade shadow in Jinwoo's army, and one of the most chivalrous characters in solo leveling. By the later stages of the series, he's powerful enough to rival monarchs and even national-level hunters. When Igris first joined Jinwoo, however, he wasn't nearly as tough. Back then, he was just a knight-grade shadow. He was strong enough to match some A-rank hunters, but nowhere near his evolved form strength. In fact, Jinwoo, who hadn't even unlocked his full power yet, managed to beat him during their first fight. Before becoming a shadow, Igris was known as the Knight Commander, Igris the Red. He served as the boss of the Job Change quest, which Jinwoo had to complete before becoming a necromancer. It turns out that their fight wasn't just random. Ashbourne, the first Shadow Monarch, set it up to test Jinwoo as his future successor. Igris was also one of Ashbourne's most trusted warriors during the war against the rulers. What really makes Igris stand out is his incredible swordsmanship. He's not just the best swordsman in Jinwoo's army. He might even be the best in Ashbourne's entire army. He wields the Demon King's longsword, a weapon so powerful it creates storms of white flames with every swing. On top of that, he can use an ability called Commander's Touch, giving him telekinetic control over objects. Igris has held his own against the Monarch of Frost, who even recognized him as one of Ashbourne's 2 wings and called him the Knight of Death. Another fascinating fact about him is his massive level up. After Jinwoo became the new Shadow Monarch, Igris got a massive power boost, leveling up from Elite Knight grade to Marshal grade. Even Sillid admitted that Igris is a tougher opponent than Beru. But it's not just his strength that makes Igris interesting. It's his personality. He's got this unwavering sense of honor. For example, during his first fight with Jinwoo, he put away his sword to fight barehanded when he saw Jinwoo wasn't using weapons. He also has a funny little quirk. Igris has a habit of taking his opponent's heads as trophies to present to Jinwoo. It's kind of his signature move, but he gets hilariously annoyed when Iron, another shadow in Jinwoo's army, tries to copy him. Iron holds a special place in Jinwoo's shadow army as the first human Jinwoo ever turned into a shadow. He was once an A-rank hunter named Kim Chu, known for his arrogance, which eventually led to his downfall. Kim Chu, who liked to call himself Great Kim Chu, was a member of Baek Yeon-hoo's White Tiger Guild. He was talented enough to be made the leader of the raid team that Jinwoo once joined. However, his ego was off the charts. He looked down on weaker hunters and didn't think twice about abandoning them during the Red Gate incident. Of course, Jinwoo included. Little did he know that this decision would lead to his new life as a shadow soldier. Kim's transformation into Iron happened during Jinwoo's battle against Baruka, the leader of the Ice Elves. After watching his entire squad get wiped out by the Ice Elves, Kim lost his mind. Angry and jealous of Jinwoo and his team's success, he recklessly charged at Jinwoo, only to be stabbed by Igris. Unbeknownst to Kim, this was all part of Jinwoo's plan. As a shadow, Iron kept most of his original appearance, along with his tanker weapons like his shield and battle axe. His already strong defenses were made even better by his new immortality. But what really makes Iron stand out is his goofy and dim-witted personality. Even after defeating Baruka, Iron kept swinging his axe as if the fight wasn't over. Jinwoo himself thinks that Iron is still as stupid as ever, even after becoming a shadow. Iron's signature move, Shout of Provocation, lets him taunt enemies and make them attack him blindly. Unfortunately, it doesn't work on stronger opponents, which only makes Iron furious. As a tanker, Iron pairs perfectly with a swordsman like Igris. One of their best moments together was during the battle against Vulcan and his guards. After defeating them, Iron imitated Igris by presenting Vulcan's head to Jinwoo, much to Jinwoo's annoyance. Despite his antics, Iron has a surprising number of fans who find his personality entertaining and his loyalty admirable. Like Iron, Tank is one of the shadows Jinwoo awakened during the Red Gate incident. Before becoming a shadow, Tank was the leader of a pack of ice bears, which were the first monsters to face off against Jinwoo's newly formed shadow army. Tank is massive, standing twice the size of the lower-ranking ice bears Jinwoo fought. His claws and bite are so powerful that it can take out most of Jinwoo's shadow army, and even push Jinwoo's mana to its limits during their fight. One of Tank's most memorable moments came when Jinwoo sent Igris to take him down. Tank managed to hold his ground against many of Igris' attacks, but in the end, Igris' speed and combat skills were too much for Tank to handle. Interestingly, Tank didn't get his name right away after becoming a shadow. Jinwoo gave him the name Tank later on after riding him into battle and watching him plow through a horde of demons with unstoppable force. Even though he's a beast, Tank is smart enough to notice and react to Iron's silly antics. As a shadow, he still carries the scars on his eyes and body from his past battles. His defensive abilities have become so strong that he can now withstand attacks from powerful enemies like high-level orcs and A-rank monsters such as the Nagas. Jima is the shadow of the Naga boss Jinwoo faced during his guild's first A-rank gate with Jinho. Nagas are a race of giant humanoid serpents known for their strength and danger. As A-rank gate monsters, they are no joke. Even Woo Jin-chul mentioned that they're a tough fight, even for experienced hunters with top combat and magic skills. But for Jinwoo and his shadow army, the Nagas were not much of a challenge. Despite being powerful and a master of his trident, Jima couldn't stand up to Jinwoo. After becoming an elite Knight Shadow, Jima's size noticeably shrank, but he gained a special skill called Growth. This ability lets him grow even larger than he was before. Jima's strength is no small matter either. He's powerful enough to take down a giant from the Tokyo S-rank gate with just one hit. The Shadow Giants are powerful monsters from the Tokyo S-rank gate that Jinwoo turned into his shadows. Each of them so strong they could potentially wipe out Japan and the nearby regions. During the Japan Crisis arc, Yuri Olaf's barrier failed to protect Tokyo and the giants broke loose, spreading destruction across the country. For a while, the only defense comes from Japanese hunters like Kanei Tawata and Minoru Hoshino, but they're clearly outmatched. Then Jinwoo and his shadow army showed up. They made quick work of the giants and easily take them down one by one. After defeating them, Jinwoo turns the giants into shadow soldiers. But instead of giving them unique names like Iron or Beru, he keeps it simple and just numbers them. However, these shadow giants are no joke. They're elite Knight grade soldiers, each capable of defeating S-rank hunters. They've taken down big names like Yuri Orlov, Hanzawa Kawaki, and even Lucas Hoyle, a top hunter from Canada. Hunters like Kanei Tawata and Minoru Hoshino don't stand a chance against them. Even Liu Zigong admitted he had a hard time taking out a single giant that made it to China's coast. With this level of power, the Shadow Giants might just be one of the strongest infantry groups in Jinwoo's Shadow Army. Real quick, before we uncover more of Jinwoo's strongest shadows and show the rare ones he only controlled for a short time, if you're loving this video so far, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Now, let's jump back in. Kaisel is the shadow of Baron's Wyvern, the Demon King and Monarch of White Flame. Kaisel starts out as a Knight Grade Shadow, but he eventually evolves into an elite Knight Grade, making him much stronger than typical S-rank hunters and far more powerful than many A-rankers combined. Interestingly, Kaisel's name actually has a funny backstory. His original name was Kaislin, but after Jinwoo defeats Baron and turns Kaisel into a shadow, he can't quite remember his full name, so he simply shortens it to Kaisel. Originally, Kaisel's job was to serve as a mount for Baron, and even after becoming part of Jinwoo's army, he still serves that purpose. He often acts as Jinwoo's main mode of transportation, especially when Shadow Exchange is on cooldown or when Jinwoo wants to take a thrilling date through the skies with hunter Chai Hae-in. Min Byung-yu is easily one of the most overpowered healers in the series. He's also one of the rare humans Jinwoo turned into a shadow, though his time as a shadow was much shorter than most. Byung-yu is an S-rank hunter who retired after the tragedy of failing the third Jeju Island raid. He had participated in all three search and hunt operations, but after losing his best friend, Yeon-suk, he couldn't continue as a hunter. It was his deep sense of responsibility that led him to return for the fourth and final Jeju Island raid. As an S-rank hunter, Byung-yu has incredible healing abilities. He can heal broken limbs, neutralize poison from the Ant Queen, buff his allies' abilities, and even save someone from the brink of death. One of his most useful abilities is the power to erase his presence, making him invisible to enemies. Unfortunately, the Ant King, Beru, saw through this ability and ultimately killed Byung-yu. During the final Jeju Island raid, Cha Hae-in was severely injured, to the point where she almost died. At the same time, Jinwoo wasn't sure if he could use Shadow Exchange to bring someone along with him. This led him to a desperate plan to turn Byung-yu into a Shadow Soldier. As a Shadow Soldier, Byung-yu proved to be highly intelligent. Without needing orders from Jinwoo, he immediately went to heal Cha Hae-in. This might have been due to the kindness he retained even after becoming an elite Knight Grade Shadow. If Byung-yu had stayed as Jinwoo's subordinate, his buffs could have enhanced Jinwoo's Monarch's domain even further. The combined stat boosts would have made Jinwoo's Shadow Army nearly unstoppable, but Byung-yu's time as a shadow was brief. His other friend, Baek Yeon-ho, asked Jinwoo to let him rest in peace. That said, there is one strong soldier in Jinwoo's army who had copied Byung-yu's powerful healing abilities. Beru is the shadow of the Ant King and one of Jinwoo's strongest soldiers. Aside from Kamish, he might be the only character in solo leveling who's taken out the most S-rank hunters. Beru's ability, Gluttony, lets him absorb the skills and knowledge of those he consumes. This ability is a big part of how he learned to speak and also helped him become a master healer. Thanks to Gluttony, Beru can restore others to full health. He can also regenerate as long as Jinwoo has mana, and even spit poison that paralyzes his targets. On top of all this, Beru possesses incredible speed and strength, which allows him to easily overpower his enemies. Beru easily overpowers S-rank hunters like Cha Ha-en, and can hold his own against powerful monarchs like Quirisha, Silid, or Tarnok. He can also change his size depending on the situation, becoming faster and more agile when needed. Over the course of the series, Beru evolves from a general to a marshal, putting him on a similar level to Igris. Unfortunately, he lost to Bellion in a sparring match and didn't make it to Grand Marshal. Beyond his combat skills, Beru stands out for his loyalty to Jinwoo. He treats Jinwoo's family like royalty and even loves watching Korean period dramas, using them as inspiration for how he should serve his liege. With his strength, skills, and loyalty, Beru is, without a doubt, the strongest of the Ant Queen's kin. The Ant Queen is the most useless shadow Jinwoo has ever acquired. Not only is she unhelpful, but she also poses a potential threat to Jinwoo's authority as the leader of his army. As an S-rank monster, the Ant Queen terrorized Jeju Island for years. She gave birth to countless ant soldiers who killed many hunters long before the main storyline began. Most importantly, she is Beru's mother. While the Ant Queen has solid strength and tenacity, which allows her to deal significant damage to hunters, her abilities are mostly centered around reproduction and poison. Her poisonous spit is strong enough to harm even top hunters like Ma Dong-wook and Baek Yeon-hoo, despite their armor and equipment. However, without her army of ant soldiers, the Ant Queen was no match for the Korean S-rank hunters, especially with Byung-gyu on their side. But before she was defeated, she managed to call for reinforcements. This brought Beru and thousands of mutant ants into the fight, putting the Korean hunters in a dangerous situation. On paper, the Ant Queen should have been a strong addition to Jinwoo's shadow army. But in reality, her main ability is reproduction, which she can no longer use since she doesn't have a physical body anymore. She also still holds the authority to control the ant colony, meaning Jinwoo's control over his ant soldiers is weaker as long as she's alive. Since she isn't fit for combat and has no real use, Jinwoo has little reason to keep her around. The unnamed giant comes from a race called the Titans. These giant creatures have been trying to invade Earth and have actually been around long before Jinwoo even used the last drop of the Cup of Reincarnation. According to the rulers, the Titans are outsiders, and they're being chased off by the ruler's heavenly army. This particular Titan is part of a tribe of massive monsters who survived by eating rocks. Their ultimate goal is to consume every rock on Earth and basically claim the planet as their own. Like some of Jinwoo's other shadows, the Titan has a size-shifting ability, but he is a little different. He can shrink down to human size when he needs to unleash his full power, and only the strongest warriors of his race can do this. We only see him during Suho's first dungeon raid, but considering how many Titans there are, Jinwoo ends up turning most of their top warriors into his shadow soldiers. These Titans are powerful enough to be at least general-grade soldiers, but only one of them has the ability to shrink down, making him one of the highest level warriors. Sadly, we don't get to see his full power because Suho knocks him out pretty quickly. Greed, whose real name is Hwang Dong-soo, is a general-grade shadow who once tried to kill Jinwoo. Before becoming a shadow, Hwang Dong-soo was consumed by his desire for revenge against the hunters who killed his brother, Hwang Dong-suk. Throughout the series, he chases after Jinwoo multiple times, but always fails. What makes his actions worse, though, is that Greed wasn't really interested in avenging his brother. He just enjoyed using his brother's death as an excuse to eliminate someone. Unfortunately for Greed, his constant failure led to him becoming a shadow soldier. After losing his fight against Jinwoo and having his plan for Thomas to deliver the final blow foiled, Greed ultimately failed to escape. In the end, Jinwoo gave him the fitting name Greed because that's what ultimately led to his downfall. As a former S-rank hunter and a fighter-type hunter, Greed is not weak when it comes to combat. While not as strong as Beru or Igris, Greed can still hold his own against monarchs. His physical strength is so immense that he can break out of Silid's ice prison just by flexing his muscles. Rakan even considers him a strong warrior in his lifetime. In a peaceful timeline, Greed returns to his old ways, getting back into shady business with his brother once again. Kamish, also known as humanity's greatest calamity, is the boss of the first S-rank gate to ever open. His overwhelming power was so great that his subjugation led to the creation of what we now know as national-level hunters. Originally a servant of Antares, Kamish was captured during the war with the rulers. His body was implanted with essence stones, which essentially programmed him to destroy humanity. One of Kamish's most memorable moments came when he completely destroyed the entire American West Coast, taking out hundreds of S-rank hunters. These hunters were considered the strongest in the world and had been hired by the American government. Kamish's rampage only ended when 5 hunters, including Thomas Andre and Liu Zigong, were able to take him down. His bite was so strong that it broke through Thomas's defenses, even with his reinforcement skill activated. Kamish's fangs were later turned into daggers with stats so powerful they made even the Demon King's dagger look weak. Kamish's corpse had been preserved in the Federal Bureau of Hunters for years. When Jinwoo visited their headquarters, he could still feel Kamish's residual mana, even though Kamish had been dead for 8 years. It took Jinwoo 2 attempts to finally extract his shadow. Jinwoo also says that Kamish was far superior to any beasts he had encountered. Unfortunately, much like Byung-gyu and the Ant Queen, Kamish's time as a shadow soldier was short-lived. Too much time has passed since his death that it became pointless for Jinwoo to try to extract his shadow again. Even though we didn't see him fight as a shadow soldier, Kamish was still incredibly powerful. A simple touch from him could destroy a glass barrier reinforced by a top hunter, and his roar could fill anyone with despair. But his most terrifying skill was his breath, which according to David Brennan, couldn't be escaped. This devastating skill is why Kamish earned the title the Extinguishable Flame. Tusk is the shadow of Kargalgan, a high orc shaman that Jinwoo and a raid party from the Hunters Guild once fought. And honestly, he might just be the most intelligent soldier in Jinwoo's shadow army. Before he even became a shadow, Tusk was already a sharp and dangerous monster. He didn't just speak human language, he could actually have full conversations with humans, and his words alone could make people sweat with fear or even cause them to bleed from their eyes. Like Dongsu and Iron, Tusk definitely has an evil streak, but he is arguably worse. He views killing as entertainment and loves turning it into a show for his orc minions. Originally, an elite knight grade shadow, Tusk's promotion to general grade made him even stronger. His firepower is crazy. He can deal massive damage to powerful enemies like Baron and Kaisel, and he's even capable of wiping out an entire fleet of outer galactic titans with a single attack. That's all thanks to the Orb of Avarice, which boosts his magic to levels that just destroy his enemies. While Jinwoo might be his toughest matchup, Tusk's abilities are still impressive. He's got some insane attacks, like Hymen of the Fire Dragon, which blasts enemies with a fiery beam, and Gravitation Magic, which crushes opponents with raw force. But he's not just about smashing things. With Hymn of Strengthening, Tusk can boost his allies' strength, and Hymn of Rage fires them up to hit harder. On top of that, Tusk can protect his team with shields using Hymn of Protection, and mess with enemies using Hymn of Blindness and Hymn of Lethargy. Out of all of Jinwoo's powerful shadows, Tusk stands out as an incredibly reliable mage. He's got a whole arsenal of abilities, whether it's taking down enemies head-on or crushing them with debuffs to weaken them. On a lighter note, Tusk has his funny moments too. Like when he embarrassingly smiles at reporters snapping pictures of him when he competes with the dragons from Ashbourne's army. Bellion is easily the strongest shadow Jinwoo could ever have. He's far stronger than Beru and would easily overpower Tarnok, the Monarch of Iron Body, in a fight. One fascinating detail about Bellion is his connection to the original Shadow Monarch. Like all heavenly soldiers, Bellion was born long ago as a fruit from the World Tree. He was also a loyal follower of Ashbourne during the Ruler's Rebellion against the Absolute Being. Even though Jinwoo isn't his original master, Bellion has never once questioned Ashbourne's decision and remains fiercely loyal to Jinwoo. Bellion arrived from a massive gate in Korea, bringing with him the original Shadow Army that once served Ashbourne. Among this army, even the 3 dragons are powerful enough to wipe out humanity, and Bellion stands at the very top of their hierarchy. As the only known Grand Marshal in Jinwoo's army, Bellion is incredibly powerful. His reflexes are quicker than even Beru's, and his weapon, which looks like a broadsword, can transform into a long whip. The whip makes him even harder to deal with, and a single strike from it is so strong it can shake the earth itself. And that's a wrap on the most powerful Shadow Soldiers in solo leveling. Which Shadow Soldier do you think deserves more recognition? Or is there another one you think we should have included? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching, and if you want more content like this, click on the video on your screen now.